people. When I say the phrase mental health to you, what does that mean?
Well-being.
Means well-being.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great answer. I'm not sure I've heard that one before. Fantastic. So, what do you think? What do you think about things that make you happy? Is there anything you do in particular? It might be something small every day, just to keep yourself happy.
Fresh air, countryside, walking.
Yeah, all the natural things.
Yeah.
Nice bit of exercise is always good, I think.
Family as well.
Family and friends as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Those are the people you'd be turning to if you were suffering with your mental health a little bit.
I think so. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So I think as well in the media at the moment there's an awful lot of negativity about the future of humanity. Do you think we've got a brighter future than the one we're being painted?
The politics comes into it, I'm afraid. I haven't got a very good view of this current government and the way they are.
I don't think many of us do.
Yeah, and the way they are bringing out the my children's generations, not great. The future for them, I don't think is particularly right at the moment, financially or environmentally, or there's a lot of pressure on them. I've got 2 teenage daughters, both of which have, who have the stresses of life upon them, and it's not really entirely fair all the time.
As a parent, that's a massive worry as well, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Especially when we've grown up seeing something a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. There are more, and social media has its usage, but it causes a great deal of damage and pressure on the young people as well, I think.
Yeah, I think social media is a big problem. I think it needs to be governed a little bit more sensibly. I'm not sure what you think about that.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it does, and I think I'm a teacher, so I'm fully aware of the impact mental health has on young people and what we need to do to make it better. I also teach teachers, so I'm aware that they need to.
You're a teacher.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So you must have had quite an interesting view of how kids have changed socially coming through the years. Then, what's your opinion on that? What have you seen?
Well, COVID has had a massive impact on them. We've got a generation of young people who are impacted by COVID, mental health and worrying. I'm a drama teacher as well, so I'm aware of how they are in those environments and how self-conscious they are, and how aware of their own weaknesses and their own appearance and their own selves, worryingly so, I'd say.
Massively so. Yeah, no, interesting drama teacher. I'm a creative therapist, so I work with a little bit of drama therapy every now and again. So that's quite interesting. You mentioned noticing them changing that way. What's the impact on creativity with young people, do you think?
Stifled awareness of what they can say and what they can do without being judged, I suppose.
I think that fear of judgment seems to be a lot more prevalent in society today than it was when we were growing up, massively so.
No, absolutely.
Are there any services in school for children suffering with mental health?
There is, unfortunately, when it comes to politics as well. There's the CAM service, which is the mental health service run by the local authority, but the waiting list for that is possibly 3 months long.
Yeah, and then it's only, 8 sessions, something like that they get?
I do some mentoring work in school, but there's very little space or time in the curriculum to manage that really at times, which is difficult.
It is difficult. From my experience of counselling with teenagers, I've seen that there's an awful lot of severely traumatised children that don't get the, say, early intervention help that could be given to them at a young age to prevent then the problems in teenagers.
Speaking to someone I used to mentor about 2 years ago, who's now at university, and she self-medicates. She doesn't see anybody because she doesn't think it's of any value in terms of getting to the point at which she wants to get to, so she looks after herself, which is really sad, isn't it?
I think there's a lot of people out there like that, unfortunately. A really sad story, but very unfortunate that we're like that. Listen, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate your thoughts. Take care. So when I say the phrase mental health, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot of things, I feel like there's a bit of a stigma around it nowadays, but I think mostly it means depression, really. Rather than, there's so many different mental health disorders out there. It's kind of, I don't know, it's a lot bigger topic in 2 words,
It's a huge topic. Yeah, I think depression is the big one, though. I think you've hit the nail on the head with that, absolutely. Yeah, so on that note, is there anything that you do that keeps you happy? What makes you happy in life?
I just came back from a hardcore music festival.
Okay. Cool.
And I feel fucking amazing now, mate. I feel great. It's just a big release.
Something about it's almost like being in a place of worship around so many other people there for a common purpose, isn't it? You're all there for one band or one purpose, and it's something powerful about being in the crowd in that moment.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very violent sort of music festival.
Okay.
But
Which one did you go to?
It's called Outbreak.
Okay, I've not heard of that one.
Yeah, it was really good. A few bands like Death Grips, they were amazing. Death Grips, honestly, Death Grips Cure My Mental Health.
Al's nodding his head there behind the camera.
Ex-Military is the best album.
Yeah, man. Oh, it was so good. So good live. Oh my god.
Awesome. Sounds like you had a great time. We see your eyes, man. You're all lit up still. It's cool. Really, I love that, man. Music's so powerful, right?
Yeah, man. 100%. Like, I work as a sound engineer as well.
Oh, I'm a qualified sound engineer too, man. I used to have a recording studio, ex-DJ, and also, yeah, man, I feel that.
Nice, man. Nice.
Yeah, wicked. So, yeah, we should stay on topic on the interview, really, I suppose. No, don't worry about it. I love tangents, man. They're great. Yeah. So, there's a lot of negativity in the media at the moment about the future of humanity, you know, with like the threats of nuclear war and climate change and all the rest of it. Do you think humanity has a brighter future than the one that's being painted for us?
I think it could go both ways. I mean, if you go to any time, people think the world's about to end. I mean, I remember seeing some quote from literally the 1700s or something about basically the same complaints people have now, people had in the 1960s about, yeah, humanity hasn't got long to go. I mean, obviously there's like unprecedented issues that we have these days. Like, I mean, climate change is a much deeper issue than maybe it was 300 years ago.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But I don't know, I feel like humanity's still going to be around for a bit longer.
Yeah, I got the same kind of feeling. I'm kind of glad you said that. So, are there any tips that you'd like to share with us about how you might do little things that you do to manage your mental health, maybe when you're feeling low or something like that?
I think it's really important to have people around you that you love, that you can feel, that you can be honest to, that you can talk to about things that are bothering you. You know, like, people all want therapy these days, which is fair enough. Therapy can be a huge help. But I feel like just having anybody to talk to that you feel comfortable with and close with, that you can really sort of get things out of you.
Yeah, the honesty thing is important, right? That honesty, you got to be real honest about how you're feeling.
Like yeah, a safe space around you, people you love, that you can just get the things out of you before they build up too much and they brew too much and they sort of become a bigger issue than maybe they would have been if you just vented that energy earlier on, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a guy a couple of weeks ago said to us, it really stuck with me. It takes an awful lot more for a guy to open up than it does for a girl. What do you think about that?
I think maybe sometimes a lot of guys do struggle to open up, but maybe, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of changing to a degree. It depends. I mean, I feel like guys do need maybe other guys or people that they need to really trust.
Yeah, that was the point he made. They need a real trust thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I would say I struggle to say, you know, open up with the guys I work with, but like one or two of my best friends, you know I can say anything to them and they won't really judge, you know.
Nice, man. Really glad to hear that. Thank you very much for your time today. I really enjoyed this interview. Cheers, buddy. Have a grand day.
I think that it's something that is very stigmatised in a way, because from someone who's had mental health problems in the past, I think more people need to speak about it. There's not enough help out there for people who are suffering in silence. I think it's something that in society is quite delicate because not enough people speak about it, especially men. And there's not enough support out there, there's not enough funding to support people with mental health. The government maybe needs to do a little bit more funding. That's something we'd like to see. I'd love to see it in this current government, I'll be honest. I don't think it will happen because they're just but if the government did, I'd be pleasantly surprised. I think it's definitely something that needs more attention and needs more funding, more awareness. It's definitely not spending.
No, I agree with that, absolutely. It seems to us there's a lot of negativity in the media as well. Do you think humanity has a sense of a brighter future than the one we're being shown by the media?
I'd like to think so. I like to think when I meet people like yourself that there's some hope out there, but at the same time, like, I don't think morale in the media as a whole, it's really like bleak. Like, there's not enough awareness. They're talking about obviously things that are important at the same time.
It seems to me like there's an awful lot of things that we're being given to worry about, like nuclear attack, war, you know, ending cataclysms, or, you know what I mean? You know, the earth's going to catch fire or something like that. You know, we get different things every year. It seems to me like it's quite impacting. I think we can give it a bit more hope, like you said. Hope is something we like to focus on in this podcast. I'm really glad you said that.
too. And my advice to anyone who's watching who's suffering from mental health is honestly speak to your friends, speak to your family, be honest. Don't suffer in silence. If you have problems with people, there are services out there that should definitely help you. I don't think that there's enough awareness out there still. I feel like it's happening at times. People are afraid to speak out in this sort of thing.
So what gives you, what makes you happy? What do you do to keep yourself happy?
I try myself with positive vibes, speak with that when I've got a problem, just being around good things.
That's fantastic. What's that? Do you have any tips like that? What things you want to do on a daily basis just to make yourself feel a bit happy with your
Dress up, a bit of self-love, maybe get a haircut, just
I love your colours, by the way. Really appeals to you, man. I'm quite tough down today. I'm usually like a wire.
Oh, I love that. Thank you very much. I do try.
No worries. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you so much for your comments. Anything else you want to add?
Not real, but it's lovely to speak to you as well. Yeah.
So when I say the phrase mental health, what does that mean to you personally?
Mental health, what does it mean? I don't know, feeling good or not feeling good, I guess, in your brain, in your head.
That's a really good answer, actually. Nice and broad. I like that. A lot of people go straight to the negative. I like the fact you didn't. That's cool. So what do you do to keep yourself happy?
It's a really good question. Exercise, skateboarding, talking to friends, avoiding drinking beer is probably the number one, though, to be fair. Yeah, it's probably my coping mechanisms.
Yes, staying away from beer, keeping healthy, keeping fit, eating well, all the usual kind of stuff. Awesome. So we're aware at the moment, and I guess you are as well, there's a lot of negativity in the media about the possible future of humanity. Do you think we've got, with like climate change and possible nuclear war and all that kind of stuff, do you think we've got a brighter future than the one that's being painted for us by the media?
Let's think so. Tend to not think about it, but I don't think that's necessarily the best thing to do either. But yeah, I think it's... Yeah, I'd like to think so. It's a fairly morbid topic, isn't it?
It can be, yeah. Which is why we're kind of like looking for a bit of a sense of hope, seeing whether people have got a sense of hope or whether they're being dragged down by the media,
Yeah, I mean, it's not looking great, is it? Doesn't. Yeah, I mean, in terms of like, yeah, fuck man, probably not. Yeah, it's not looking good, is it? Really?
Unfortunately not.
They're painting anyway, but.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the media don't always get it right. I mean, we know that, so we're kind of interested what real people on the street kind of thinking about it all. So that was why I asked you the question, really, more rather than anything else. But can you share with us a little tip that you might use to support your mental health when you're feeling down?
Write down how I'm feeling, and then like trying to work out a best way of like dealing with that. It's one thing like writing it down, but if you only write it down, then you kind of don't really get anywhere with it. So.
You write it down and then you kind of almost got something to pay a bit more attention to, I suppose, because you've actually listed out all the things that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I don't always find the solution, but at least I'm aware of what the problem is, yeah.
It's a really good way of getting it out of your brain, actually. Just write it down and you've got rid of it then, haven't you? It's like a shaking off almost.
Yeah, for sure. Tried doing it today, but still kind of like working it out.
Awesome. Well, I hope the rest of your day goes much better. And thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. When I say the phrase mental health, what does that mean to you both?
It just concerns everything, like the way you feel about yourself, the way where you work, your friends, like everything feeds into one another essentially. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, and I kind of think of it also as like how mental health ties into your physical health or can affect your physical health and how it manifests to your body as well.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. Okay, awesome. So what do you do to keep yourself happy?
Spend time with friends, take time for myself as well, do things that I enjoy. I think it's easy to get trapped in kind of work cycles, so you work, you sleep, you go back to work, that kind of thing. So just taking moments for yourself and also for your friends as well and family too.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said around how we measure success in present day, and a lot of people wear being busy as a badge of honor or of success, whereas I kind of look at it as the way to maintain your mental health, or one way to maintain your mental health is to make sure that you set really clear boundaries in terms of I finish work at 5 p.m. and I'm not going to continue to work just because being busy means that you're successful, because it doesn't, you know.
Being busy doesn't necessarily make you better, does it?
No, it does not. No.
I love that. So we're aware at the moment in the media there's quite a lot of negativity around for the future of humanity. We're hearing about, you know, natural disasters, climate change, the impact of possible nuclear war, all this kind of thing. Do you think we've got a brighter future for humanity than the one that we're being painted?
Yeah, that's a pretty loaded question. No, I think it's something that is very easy to get kind of like bogged down by as well, especially if you spend a lot of time on social media. There's lots of like naysayers and doom-mongers and stuff, and I think it's important to just like remove yourself from that slightly and just kind of take some time for yourself. But I think that if we, in small ways, like make the future better for ourselves, like reduce your plastic usage, maybe like reduce your meat intake, stuff like that, then I think that it's something that the micro leads into the macro, essentially.
Yeah, I think it's too hard of a question to answer, because I think on the one hand, you know, you can find happiness in your own backyard. Happiness is kind of what you make it. But on the other hand, the reality is that we're driving the earth into a very bad place, and people are becoming more greedy, and you know, not sort of very socially conscious. So it's a hard one, but I would say at the very least we can make decisions for ourselves to keep ourselves at peace. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. I think it's a very personal thing, and I think something that feeds into that for me a lot is a sense of community. So what's the sense of community for you guys like around where you live?
Very good, actually. We live in a place in Sydney called Newtown, which is a very, I would say, queer area. It's very, like, culturally diverse. There's a lot of art, there's a lot of culture. Australia certainly still has a long way to go, and there's a lot of racism within that country, but in Sydney, you know, there are kind of pockets of areas. We barely leave the suburb we live in because we love it so much, and because our friends are within like a half-hour walk of us. So I think we've found like a really nice bubble to keep ourselves in, but it's certainly not indicative of
the world at large.
The world at large. Yeah.
I think there's so many people who don't have a sense of community, you know. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like a huge thing either. It could just be like 3 people. You know what I mean? Like you still get that sense of community from the people you like hold near and dear as well. So
I think it's caring, isn't it? It's caring for people around you, and it's simple. It can be as simple as getting your neighbour a pint of milk if she's unable to leave the house or something like that. You know, I think if the more we love each other in that way, the more chance we've got of saving humanity. That's just my personal view.
Yeah, you pay it
Absolutely.
forward.
And we could. Everyone could stand to be kinder to one another. It's very hard because everyone is, I guess, self-involved in the sense that if we are this busy constantly, you're never thinking about what's going on outside of you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we all just need to be nicer to one another, is what I would say.
I love that. That's so cool. Have you got any little tips that you use to manage your mental health that you could share with us that other people might find useful? Doesn't matter how daft it is. Sometimes the dafter the better.
Yeah. I think having a way to externalize how you're feeling, for me, written reflection is very helpful. Listening to music that I find soothing, and that could vary so much from person to person, but the combination of those two things, and also getting outside, going for a walk, touching the grass with your feet, all of that sort of stuff is what I find helpful.
With nature.
Yeah,
just sitting in a park for like half an hour and just not doing much. Just
so powerful.
Yeah. Trying to be still, I think, wherever you can is really important, because the world we live in is very fast-paced.
Yeah. I'd have to agree there as well. Whenever I find myself stressed, everything's just overwhelming. Just having that half hour to an hour just in the woods or the fields.
Yep.
Letting the world pass by and you do nothing.
It just recontextualizes everything as well, because like the world can seem so vast, but it is also quite small as well. We're all going through the same kind of experience, but at different levels, different ways, different moments and stuff as well. So just sitting in nature and just kind of reminding yourself that the world is here, you know, and it's larger than you, but also,
And you are connected to it. I think that's the bit most people miss out on, is the connection to Earth. Yeah. And I sound like a hippie when I say that. Most people think I'm sure, but I don't care because it's so bloody true.
Yeah. It's true. I also think just making sure that you have people around you to speak with, because often it takes, again, externalizing, having a conversation with another person to gain some perspective on what it is you're feeling. A lot of the time we are all feeling similar emotions but are too afraid to connect on the things that we are feeling. Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of guys as well, very scared to talk about emotions full stop, you know.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me either. Listen, thank you so much, guys.
You're
A couple
welcome.
of beautiful human beings. Real pleasure to speak to you. Enjoy the rest of your time in England. So when I say the phrase mental health, what does that mean to you, please?
Mental health means someone that went through a traumatic experience at a young age or at an elderly age, and it affected them for the rest of their life.
So somebody who's suffering, basically, then, yeah?
Somebody who's suffering, in other words, yes.
Happy days. Okay, awesome. That's an interesting way of looking at it. So when I say sort of like talk about happiness, we think about the opposite of depression, happiness. What do you do to keep yourself happy?
This is part of mental health as well. A lot of emotions are part of mental health, so it doesn't necessarily mean the person's always upset or traumatized or something went through with them, but it's always an emotion of mental health, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. So what do you do to keep yourself happy?
Play pool, ping pong, paintballing with the lads, flying out. Recently come back in last November. Been away from the UK for the past 4 years because of my mental health.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So a lot of things in there that you maybe do with other people. So a sense of friendship and keeping yourself happy, maybe?
What do you mean by that? Elaborate, sorry.
As in, like, being around other people. So when you're saying, like, playing pool and, like, all these other things, it's kind of things you do with other people. So I'm thinking maybe there's a sense of friendship in around making yourself happy.
No, complete strangers is always the best.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I've not heard that before. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
People you don't know. The reason why I mean that is because, look, if you knew someone and you grew up with them and everything, you're more likely to open up to them. And if something were to happen between you guys, he'll later on mention that. That's why if you ever want to do something, go out and do it yourself. And if you want to talk to someone about it, talk to someone that you completely don't know.
I like that. So it's kind of in some ways it's easier to speak your burdens to a stranger.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to a therapist, going to someone even that's distant relationship from you as well is always good as well.
Awesome. That's really interesting. So is there any tips that you could share with us about how you manage your mental health on a daily basis? Little things you do for yourself that maybe, something daft maybe?
Drink a lot of water every day.
Drink a lot of water every day. Nice.
No, thank you.
Nice one, man. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. So when I say the phrase mental health to you, what does that mean?
Struggle.
Struggle. That's quite a common one that people say.
Yeah. I mean, I've dealt with my own. I've got ADHD myself.
Me too, yeah.
Depression, anxiety.
They come hand in hand.
It's a struggle. And I mean, it's that thing in it that, for me, it's that mental health stigma for men as well. There's always that, don't talk to anyone. Get up, man up and get on with it. And it's that thing of, you've got to have support and like just being willing to talk to people as well. Because like, I feel like people say, oh, there's not a stigma, but
There is.
I mean, there is. I know I've talked to people before and they say, yeah, no, that they're just waiting for their turn to talk more than actually listening to how you're struggling. So, but yeah, that's all for me really.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm glad you said that, struggle. I think that's something a lot of people associate with, you know. So on that note of sort of thinking about the opposite of that, what do you do to keep yourself happy?
Gaming mostly.
Okay.
And I found that, especially with ADHD, working out, trying to. I mean, over COVID, I put on like 3 stone, and
I think we all did.
yeah,
Three sounds like a minimal amount.
yeah. So I mean, obviously, I went on the medication, and obviously talking to my missus about it and stuff, and actually being willing and having at least one person there you can talk to, and also just trying to get out of the house. Like, we're stuck indoors with COVID. It was fine for a while, and then you're just stuck in and staring at the same 4 walls. It's the main thing for me is just making sure if you've got a hobby, then actually commit to it and spend your own time doing something you really enjoy instead of forcing yourself to be in situations where you're uncomfortable, just dragging you down. Take your time to yourself if you need it, because otherwise you just end up pleasing everybody else, not thinking about yourself, and end up just, it's a downhill spiral.
There's a great phrase I love, which is you can't drink from an empty cup. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's always better to have a good cup. I mean, I'd rather have beer.
I'll go along with that one, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I was thinking as well, like there's a lot of negativity around in the media at the moment about the future of humanity, you know, with the possibility of nuclear war and climate change and all the other stuff. What do you think our future's actually like? Do you think we've got a brighter future than the one being painted for us?
I mean, it depends how we bring our kids up, really. I mean, like any generation, you think the last generation, the economic situation we're in with housing and everything, is that the whole point of why you have kids is because you want to bring them up to be better than you. If you don't do that, then it's just going to keep going the way it is. I mean, with artificial intelligence and stuff as well, if you use it in the right way, it can help a lot. If you use it in the wrong way, it could end up, you know, the extinction of mankind. So it's a bleak outlook depending on, you know, what way you look at it, really.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of good in the world. There's a lot of bad, like any human existence through time. But I think through community. I mean,
you said that word. That was my next question.
It's that thing, isn't it? Like I live in a little village.
Okay.
Everybody knows each other. Most of the people I don't like.
Yeah,
but
I grew up like that, so I get it.
Yeah, but there's that thing of having family, having your own little community within the larger community anyway, and just being willing. Like we saw a woman down there a minute ago. She's clearly homeless or got struggles and stuff, and she's asking for money. It's like, if I had money on me, I would have helped you. It's that thing of seeing homeless people. There's some people walk past them and you see like, oh, it's just a homeless person. You assume they're a bad person. Well, you don't know what they've had going on in their life. Like, I've had bad times. Sometimes you need somebody to stand there and have a conversation with you, just listen to what's going on.
I think if you've been through your own shit like that, it gives you a sense of compassion for other people, doesn't it, you know?
I mean, like when you have bad childhood and you grow up and you realise how much, like we've got two little kids now, a 2.5-year-old and a 1-year-old, of knowing, like you said, about raising the next generation. I don't want to pass on stuff that I had to deal with. I want to be better than what my parents were like. So it's that growing up and teaching them to, if you socialise with people, you see somebody struggling, help them out. Like even my grandparents holding the door open for somebody there. You know, they might be having a bad day. That might be the little thing that keeps them going. And you know, it's the little things in life for me.
Just spreading a little bit of love every day, isn't it, you know?
Yeah, I
I
mean
think that's what community is about, really, isn't it? It's caring for each other and spreading the love, really.
and just lack of judgment. I mean, there's so much judgment in the world. It's insane. And even myself, like I still struggle, like not to immediately associate.
None of us are perfect, are we, you know?
No, and it's just that thing of growing yourself and being willing to be like, look, you've got to open your own mind to things and be like, everything isn't black and white, nothing's crystal clear. You got to just take each day as it comes.
Absolutely. So, as a final question, have you got any little tips you'd like to share with us about how you manage your mental health? Might be something a little daft you do to pick yourself up from time to time?
I just try to find the funny in everything. I mean, in every bad situation, there's something funny you can get out of it. I mean, somebody falls over, it's funny for you, not funny for them, but then they're going to have something in their own day that is good. I mean, you don't want to laugh at them, help them, and then you can laugh together about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, don't push people when they're down, but it's that in any situation in life that's bad, there's always something funny or something good that can come out. Even if it's adversity, if you grow stronger from that, then you know there's only good that's going to come from it. So I mean, sometimes you've got to have a little bit of challenge to have the building blocks to be able to deal with the situation later in life. So
Absolutely, yeah. Finding the humour every day. I like that a lot. That's good. Thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
So when I say the phrase mental health, what does that mean to you, please?
So the first thing that comes to my mind is everything that is related to my personal well-being as a person. So everything that is related to how I feel about what's happening around me.
So I get a sense of your meaning kind of mind and body together in that?
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So what do you do to keep yourself happy in life?
Well, I try to keep myself active, and I have routines as well. And I'm actually followed by a psychologist, so I have a therapist that is helping me out.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. That's fantastic. You find that a great sense of support being in therapy?
Yes, at the beginning it was not that easy, so it took a little bit of time. It was something quite slow, but yeah, now it's much better.
Good, I'm really, really glad to hear that. So in the media at the moment, there's a bit of a sense of sort of impending doom for the future of humanity. Do you think we've got a brighter future than the one we're being shown by the media?
I think it's difficult to tell. I don't know. I don't have a lot of information about this. But my personal vision of this is that everything depends on how we live things around us and the people that is surrounding us. So I don't see this kind of impending doom. Of course, there are too many things going on and we are surrounded by and overwhelmed by information. But personally, I don't see that negative.
Okay, that's interesting. Sounds like you've got a bit of a sense of community around you where you live.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
That's really good to hear. Really good. I think a lot of people suffer without a sense of community, and we need more connection in society, I think.
Yeah, I also start paying attention to this after COVID, so it was not something I was really interested or looking into, or even just aware of what the people I have around. And now I'm definitely more aware of this.
I think COVID woke a lot of people up in that way, didn't it? You know, we suddenly realised what was missing from our lives.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. So just as a quick closing question, have you got a little tip that you could share with us about how you manage your mental health on a daily basis?
Yes, just to share with someone, anyone. If you feel down or anything, try to reach to anyone. It's the most difficult thing, seems as an easy advice. Took me a lot of time personally to open to someone, but if I could get an advice, that would be someone that you can trust and just talk. Can be anyone, even just a stranger.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, friends or strangers. We've had both people say to... Sorry, I put my teeth in there. We've had people say all things to us today from both sides, from talking to strangers to talking to friends is really important. So I'm glad you kind of said the both of those there, because I think it does depend on the individual.
Yeah, it depends on how you feel. So, you know, there is a lot of bias, or if it is someone that you know, you might feel that you will be labeled after this. So sometimes even a stranger can help. Yeah.
I think that's why people like therapy, because it's like going in and talking to a stranger who's not involved in the rest of your life. You're smiling, I can tell you mean. Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it. Take care and have a great rest of the day.
No worries. Thank you so much.
So when I say mental health, the phrase mental health, what does that mean to you?
I would say like the well-being of your mind, really, your emotion, and it's just like, I think recently it's more come into the fold, and like back in the day it was more like physical well-being which was more important, and mental health wasn't really discussed, especially men's mental health.
I agree with that completely.
And I think just now we're really understanding like how important it is to your well-being and your longevity really in your life.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. Do you have anything you'd like to add to that? What does mental health mean to you?
I think it impacts a lot more than people realise, and it kind of, I don't know, you described it very well.
That was a very eloquent answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how to top that, really.
Sorry.
I think you're right, though. I think it does encompass everything, and it affects us all, and we all need to have a little bit more awareness about it. We need to spread the word a bit more, you know. So on that note, what do you guys do to keep yourselves happy?
I would say for me, what I do is, I think talking to people is the best bet. Like, just having distractions. I think life in general is just, you got your work, you've got the things you need to do to keep yourself afloat, and life really is about distractions. If you don't have those distractions, you start to fall into that kind of pit. So I think what's important is being able to have a good circle, have a good community of people around you which you can go to for support, and also to just have a good time with, you know. That's always good for you. Just enjoy yourself, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you? What keeps you happy?
I do a lot of, I use a lot of outlets, creative outlets, like music and art. Awesome. Yeah. So I just, I like to project a lot of things internally outwards, because I find it easier than talking and trying to work around it in another sense. So yeah, I do a lot of art, music, poetry, writing, theatre, just anything that kind of, you can translate it into a different...
That's amazing to hear. I'm a creative therapist, so I'm really, really interested to hear that you have that kind of outlet. We probably speak the same kind of language.
We're both actors. So.
Oh, you're both
yeah.
creatives then. Oh, we picked the right people to talk to. Amazing. So we've got a bit of a sense in society at the moment, especially from the media, that there's a bit of impending doom for humanity. Do you think we've got a brighter future than the one we're being shown?
I think a lot of it is media trying to... Obviously, they want people to watch their stuff to get like clicks and that. So they're very naturally pessimistic, the media, and because we consume so much of that, it can get quite daunting, where it's like a kind of a defeatist mentality, which I don't think is useful, because I think in a way, if society and if we're all going to be fine, it's by having a positive outlook on things, not, oh, this is going to happen in 10 years. It's more like, we can do this to improve and to prosper, really. It's looking at it from a positive perspective rather than a negative, which I think can change the way people operate, that change the energy people approach situations with, which could just, I feel like, lead us better. It's more the media pushing us down, I think, if anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about yourself?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it used to be a little bit more uplifting, but I think the thing is that they probably noticed it doesn't get as much attention as all the negative stuff. And it's not a hard thing to change. I don't know.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because like as human beings, we're naturally drawn to love, yet we seem to click on negativity in the media. I find that quite curious, you know.
It's because it's different. Like, you want to hear about these new stories because no one wants to, like, it's the same with, like, if you're watching, like, TV shows. No one wants to have a story about a guy who goes out and has a great day. Yeah. He has a nice meal and then he goes home, you know? We are drawn as humans to the unknown and the scary because that what releases the chemicals in our brain which will stimulate us, really, which is why so many people kind of use violence, stuff like that, as an outlet. Is because it's a difference to the normality, which is like what we are drawn to naturally. We crave it. It's just the way we are as a species, really.
And I don't think people like being told what to do, in a sense of it's like, this is happening, but we can do this, and you're going to need to do this. People don't like that. I think they find more comfort in the fact that this has gone wrong and there's nothing we can do about it, and then that's the end of the story. Because all of the positive things you see is more like come together as a community and then do things to combat it, and no one likes that. Even though it's a positive thing, people would rather just be like, oh what a shame, and move on.
I know exactly what you mean. You both mentioned a sense of community, which is something we're investigating on this podcast as well. Have you got much of a sense of community in your own lives?
I think it varies, really. With me, my kind of life so far has been, I've had a bit of a strange one because my dad, like, he left, right, because I had a bit of a situation with him, but like, it's mostly, for me, it's important to me to have stability in that, and it's been a key challenge in my life is not having this stable sense of community, and I think currently now it's at a point which is better than it's ever been, really, which I'm quite happy with. But I think for everyone's lives, and for my life continuing, I'm going to have issues in that community, that stable sense of community, and it's just being able to sort out those situations and be aware that change can happen, and no one is going to have a complete stable life, stable family, all that, you know, death.
We all strive for stability, but life is a constant state of flux, isn't it, you know?
Exactly, so it's like, it's being able to take it on the chin, really, and one of the most important things is when you're going through times like that where people leave, people pass on, is talking to people and communicating your feelings and not distancing yourself, not isolating yourself away, because that's when you lose that community. It's important to trust in the people around you and keep going, really.
We all need that, don't we? We all need that. So what about yourself, sense of community? Being in the creative community, I think there is a little bit more sense of cohesion there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think as a creative, I think I've usually been more on the kind of closed off side. I haven't been able to kind of work with people. I've been too afraid to kind of work with people and then show people my ideas and everything. I've always had this massive I've always had fear of rejection, and very sensitive to criticism.
I think a
and,
lot
like,
of us are.
yeah.
We're very sensitive, a lot of us creatives, aren't we?
Yeah.
Very, yeah.
So I really struggle to kind of open up to people in that sense, and then build on that sense of community and everything. And I think it affects a lot of people as well. You know, when something bad happens, personally, I just go like, oh well, that's it then, and I can't kind of come back from that. But I think community is really just kind of perseverance and taking people for who they are, and not letting things just kind of, you know, very trivial things get in the way, because there's so much more to a person than just one specific thing. People are so complex.
I know, and society is very quick to judge as well these days, I find, isn't it? You know, very quick to judge.
I agree.
So just as a quick closing question, I won't keep you too much longer, can you share with us one little tip that you might have to improve your mental health, something that you use personally?
Music.
Love that one.
I would say. Get. Well, you can use any streaming service, but Spotify Premium, right? if you're ever having like
we're not sponsored by Spotify, by the way.
Yeah, not Spotify, but if you're ever having like a bad time, genuinely just, even if it's like a situation which you know, say if you have like a row with your family or anything like that, I think just having a lie down and just putting some music in your ears, listening to it, and just giving yourself time for those chemicals in your brain, like adrenaline, all that stuff which is like running around in there, all those thoughts, just let them play out. Don't fight against them. Just listen to a bit of music, have a lie down, and just let it flood out of your system naturally. You will feel it. I think that's the main thing. Just don't be afraid to feel negative emotions.
Exactly.
Go through them.
Yeah. You have to feel all of your emotions, right? Negative, positive, middling, all of them.
Don't avoid them. That's the main thing. Bottling it up kind of leads to a bigger, worse reaction later on. You've got to let out your system somehow. Music is the way I de-stress, release, but it's just, I think my main thing is finding an outlet which you can use to feel your emotions.
Yeah.
Which is what I would say.
Same thing for you?
Yeah, and I think using them, don't be afraid to kind of use them in just kind of warping them and using them for something else. Like something I like to do a lot is just get a piece of paper and then just don't stop using the paper. Just get a piece of paper, write whatever comes to mind, draw colours, everything. Yeah. And just that's the way I get it all out of my system. It's just put your pen on your paper and just don't stop. And then when nothing else kind of comes to your mind, for me that's when I feel quite peaceful. It's like, it's just, yeah, I can't think of any more to kind of be anything else to be angry at. Everything's gone, and that's what makes me feel quite peaceful.
I really like that. That's super powerful. I love both those answers. I mean, music is one that loads of people associate with. People have always said like writing stuff down, but the way you're talking about it is actually really just almost embodying who you are and spitting it out on the paper, you know, just getting out all the stuff you want to get out, whether it's a mark or a colour or a shape or words or whatever. That's really, really cool. I like that. Thank you so much for your time today, guys. Been a real pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much. So when I say the phrase mental health to you, what does that mean, please?
Issues in the mind.
Issues in the mind?
Yeah, struggling with daily things. Ability to just carry out your daily life chores without, things going on up there, worries, anxiety, all that sort of thing, yeah.
Okay, that's a really good answer. Quite wide and all-encompassing, actually. I quite like that. A lot of people go straight for the negative on that, and, I think mental health can either be a positive or a negative. What do you think about
that? Initially, I suppose it would seem as it's a negative, but you could turn it into a positive. You could also turn negative into a positive, for sure.
That's a really good way of looking at it.
Yeah, but I'm sure everyone's got some sort of mental health issues in a way, and they probably didn't realise it.
I'd say
years ago, they probably didn't think that when they were struggling, they didn't think actually, this is a mental health issue. This is just the dribs and drabs of life. But actually now we realise that and it's more common than ever as well. Like, it probably is something to do with mental health. Do you know what I mean? So
We have labels for everything now, like we have anxiety now, whereas years ago we would have said Auntie was suffering with her nerves. We wouldn't have said anxiety, would we, you know? So I think the awareness in culture is changing in mental health as well, which I think is really positive.
Oh yeah, well it's a modern world now, isn't it? So and you know, even the top class footballers who get all the big money, they got mental health issues. People will saying, "Oh, why have they got mental health issues?" But they have. They're only humans.
Affects us all, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It really does.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are in life, you still get mental health issues.
Absolutely, you do. So what do you do to keep yourself happy? What's one thing you do to keep yourself
Walking. Yeah, walking. Definitely. Yeah, it's a good. Honestly, it's really good.
Yeah. Nice bit of exercise. Out in nature or anywhere?
Anywhere, just go for a walk, 2 or 3 miles a day. Just walk, yeah.
You find that keeps you perky, does
Clear
it?
your mind, yeah. And being in an area like this where everyone's around you, being associated with people, and you know what I mean. If you sit at home and you've got mental health issues, that ain't no good to no one because you've got time to think. So go out, see everyone. Even if I'm on, like I am on my own today, just walk around and just, yeah.
Feel like you've got some company around you all the time.
Exactly, yeah. You're always better when you've got people around you, definitely, for sure.
With that in mind, is there much of a sense of community in your life?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think so, yeah, definitely, yeah. Community is everything. I mean, I think over the years, people have thought perhaps that community's been lost.
I think we've lost the wider sense of community, but I think when I chat to people, they quite often say, I've got quite an individual community, but maybe not a wider community. You know, like years ago, you would have known everybody in your street. Whereas these days, you might only know your mates and they live 2 streets away or whatever. It's not quite the same, but it is there.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah. My dad used to say years ago that everyone used to know, everyone knew everyone, like you said, everyone used to leave their front doors open and all that sort of thing. But now I suppose, exactly, yeah. But now I suppose there's a bit more sort of, I don't know, I'm not saying wary about it, but there's a little bit more sort of perhaps insecurity now, is because someone might move from somewhere, from another area you don't know, and you know you can't have that sort of flexibility, I don't think, and that trust as much anymore, sadly. But because you don't know now, there's so much going on, isn't there? There's so many.
There is so much going on. I think people are naturally more cautious these days than they were years ago because there's more danger shown to us by the media, maybe.
Exactly, yeah. And my dad's always said years ago, you always had like a local policeman as well on the beat.
That's true.
In the area. So everyone didn't have a problem with leaving their doors open and doing whatever, do you know what I mean? Because you always felt safe that there was someone there. But of course you don't have that as much now, obviously, because for certain reasons, whether it's money or everything else, you don't see that anymore. So yeah, people are a little bit more cautious now. But yeah, you know, you should be able to sort of interact with everybody in your street and your roads, and do you know what I mean? Just, you know, everyone's got a story, everyone's different, and do you know what I mean? It's just, you just learn to live with people, do you know what I mean?
I think that's an important point, acceptance, you know, accepting that other people are different to how we are as an individual.
Yeah, everyone's got a story in life, and everyone comes from somewhere. We all speak a certain language. It might not be the same, but it doesn't mean we can't get on. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, we might eat certain foods for certain reasons, religions or whatever. It doesn't mean we can't get on, do you know what I mean? We should learn to sort of get on and live with each other, do you know what I mean?
I wish more people thought like you, mate. I really did. I really do. So just as a little closing thought, have you got one little tip you could share with us about maybe how you manage your mental health when things get hard?
Just think that, I've got to be honest, I always think that there's somebody worse than me. And I don't mean that in a sort of, oh, you know, I know people are suffering, but, you know, there is people that are struggling more than me. You see it in the Ukraine war. I just think, actually, yeah, although I'm struggling, there is always people worse off, and, you know, just get out there and just, like I said, go for a walk, just clear your mind, and just, you know, things will improve if you want them to. And they can do, trust me. You can change the mind and the perception of the body.
That's so important. Sense of hope is what you're saying there, isn't it? Sense of hope.
Definitely, yeah, there's always hope. Yeah, if you believe it.
That warms my heart to hear that from you. That really does, mate. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. You take care and have a great day.
Thank you. Cheers, thanks a lot.
I'll give you a little flyer for the podcast, mate.